Welcome to my Google Alert presentation on racism. My name is Conder, and for the next few minutes, I'll be going over why I believe that the article I have chosen relates to racism and what exactly racism is and the forms and types of racism that are used within this article. I hope you enjoy. Thank you. As we continue to study racism, I wanted to go over the Google article that I found. I wanted to understand more if this encounter was really racism or if it was just a simple misunderstanding. On October 12th, the article I chose states that reporter Homo Bash and her cameraman were reporting in Plano, Texas, near school on Wednesday afternoon when someone phoned the police. Bash tweeted about the incident, stating that the cops were called because a Hispanic-looking woman and black man with a suspicious white truck and camera were near a school. This article received millions of retweets and thousands of comments, and as I was looking through a few of them, for a few minutes, I realized that many of the people that had posted similar things, posted similar situations. Many of them that were black or that they were Hispanic posted that they had also had this same treatment, that someone had called the cops to report suspicious behavior of a black man or a Hispanic woman or a Hispanic man, when in reality these people were just trying to do their jobs. They were just trying to be good people, be good citizens. This makes me think that if this isn't the only encounter, then how many in the world are there? And how many encounters and how many different situations there are with the same situation? And it makes me think that there are a lot of unreported, unknown circumstances of racism that we don't even know about. Now, before we can state if this article that I've quoted is racism or if it's a simple misunderstanding, we must understand what exactly is racism to be able to understand if this article is talking about it. And according to the Psychology of Ethnic Groups in the United States, racism is a prejudicial attitude and discriminatory actions based on a person's or group's ethnic physical characteristics, often called phenotype or race. Now, this definition was a little bit hard for me to understand, so I wanted to go over the Google definition of the word racism. That's a little bit easier to understand. And it says the belief that all members of each race possess characteristics or abilities specific to that race, especially so as to distinguish it as inferior or superior to another race or races. Now, the only thing that we know about this article is that it was talking about someone that called the police based on what they saw. That is what a phenotype is. It's what we can see, and therefore they were judging these people based exactly on how they look and not who they were at all. So I would say that yes, this article is racist. Now that we've decided that this article is racist, we must decide what exactly makes it racist. If we don't understand why something is racist, we cannot overcome it and become better. There are a few points I noticed in this post that caught my attention. The first thing I noticed is that this article looks down on minority groups. What is a minority group? According to Professor Davies, he gives a good definition of minority groups by saying that it is any group who is singled out in society based on physical or cultural characteristics and is treated differently and unequally. A minority group may or may not be a numerical majority. Defining features are a lack of social, political, and economic power, which is determined by the majority group. According to this article, there are two minority groups here. There are Black people or African Americans, and what the person that called the police would call the Hispanic-looking lady. And these are minority groups because they do not hold the specific economic, social, or political power, and therefore they're not part of that majority group, which causes this article to be extremely racist because it looks down upon the minority groups. It treats them unequally just because of what they look like. They are less. They do not have as much power, and therefore they show a grand minority. The second thing I noticed that showed racism was something that seemed very interesting to me. I learned that according to racism, or someone that is racist, race determines traits. Therefore, if someone is a certain race, then they will automatically have a specific trait. For example, in this article, the person that called the police saw a black man and a Hispanic-looking woman and automatically thought that they were a threat. This infers that every black man and Hispanic woman are threats, which is completely untrue. This once again brings another form of racism into the article. During Professor Davies' presentation on racism, he gives us two types of racism that can be used in different situations or that can be used by different people. One of them is called overt and the other is called covert. The overt is a more direct behavior or verbal racial discrimination. This can be different things like derogatory terms or different things said about people, but very bluntly, very observant, very easily spotted. The other one, however, is covert, and this is a more subtle, easily hidden, denied, or discounted type of racism. This can be different things like saying things that could be racism if you take them that way, or they might not be, and that's why they can be easily discounted. Now, the reason I have this covert on the left side, whereas in the Professor Davies slideshow it's on the right side, is because in this article that I've given, the form of racism that is used is covert, because the bystander calling the police due to a possible threat from a black man and Hispanic-looking woman shows that the person that called was not saying anything specifically bad or verbal about them or their race. They were only saying that they seemed like a threat. But that implies that there has to be a reason why they think that they're a threat. And this is a hidden or could be denied or discounted as just being a misunderstanding, but as we can see here, they had no reason to believe that these people were a threat, but they called the police anyway. I wanted to reemphasize why I believe this article is racist by adding on one word comparison that I found that I felt was similar to the article from Google. This picture describes what most people would think if they saw both of these men with guns. The first instinct is that the one on the left has every right to hold and aim a gun because they are only protecting themselves and their families, while the man on the right, is supposedly using that gun as a thug, criminal, or terrorist. We think these things because that is what society has taught us to think, and not necessarily because they are true. This goes along with the article that I found because as we look at this article, we see that the person that called in was only looking at the outside of this person. They weren't looking on the inside. They couldn't tell who they are or what they were doing because they didn't try to understand. They only looked and saw what they thought was a threat to children instead of what was a harmless reporter trying to do her job. In the same picture, we can see that there are two men holding guns, but because of what society has shown us, what society has taught us to believe about people with guns, or about black men with guns, to be exact. That every black man with a gun is either a thug, criminal, or terrorist. And I can't say that I don't feel that as well, because society has taught me, as well as most other people, that that's what we should be afraid of, because every black man that has a gun is someone we should be afraid of. And that's something that needs to be changed. That's something that, along with this article, we need to change what we think about people based on what they look like, because it doesn't matter what they look like, it only matters what they are. Every culture and race in the world has different customs and beliefs. Each difference makes the world unique. Without these differences, there would be no individuality. That being said, this does not mean that one culture or race is better than the other. The article that I have shared has given a good example of racism in its purest form. Because someone is different, that makes them lesser, and that makes them a threat. These people were judged by what they are and not who they are. We cannot judge based on appearance, because appearance can be deceiving. We must understand instead of judge. Being different is what makes the world an interesting place to live. Differences are okay. Racism is not. Thank you.